Hi, I'm Dr. DePasquale. I don't know if you travel much, but I certainly do. And I have to tell you, with each year, with the TSA regulations, the crappy snacks that they give you on the plane, and the grumpy staff, traveling just gets harder and harder. But I still love exploring new places, and many times I have to travel for work. So here are my 5 top travel tips to make traveling about as easy as it can be. Number one, if at all possible, try not to check a bag. A couple of years ago, my husband actually challenged me to go all the way to Europe for 2 weeks with just a carry on. And I remember the last time I was in Europe and I didn't get my luggage and I was freezing in France with no warm clothes to wear. And I decided, well, it's probably not worth them losing it, so I'll go ahead and do it. Surprisingly, I made it through the whole trip with a carry on, and that was awesome. The next thing that I do is make sure that I have plenty of hydration because even when you're traveling in coach, they don't really give you enough water for some of these long flights. So I always make sure I have enough water to keep me comfortable and I don't have to bother anybody about water and I can stay nice and hydrated. The other thing I do is I pack plenty of my own snacks so I don't have to rely on terrible airport food to keep me feeling good. I feel that if I eat nutritious snacks along the way, I just arrive to my destination feeling much less bloated, grumpy, and tired. So that always seems to help. The other thing that I do is I always have a toiletry bag that's ready to go, and it just makes life so much easier because each time I go, I don't have to figure out what I need as far as toiletries. So I have a small bag in a quart-sized container that's ready to go in my closet in my bathroom. So whenever it's time to go somewhere, I just grab that, shove it in my bag, and I'm off. And last but not least, I always wear something very comfortable and I wear shoes that I can absolutely run in whenever I travel. And this is because one time when I was traveling, I had to run quite a bit and I wound up breaking my foot before getting on the next flight. So ever since then, I just wear shoes that I am ready to run in and I can make it to my connection without a problem. This is Dr. DePasquale, and hopefully with these top 5 travel tips, hopefully your next trip will be about as smooth as possible, unless, of course, they cancel your flight. Thanks for watching.
You're listening to The Voluntary Life, where you can hear ideas for finding freedom in an unfree world. Visit thevoluntarylife.com to connect with the show and hear all past episodes. Here's your host, Jake.
Hi, it's Jake here. Welcome to The Voluntary Life. This is an episode about long-term travel. And what I'd like to talk about is everything that you need in order to do long-term travel. I'm currently recording this in Mexico, in Puerto Escondido, and I'm now about 5 months into a 7.5-month trip, which has taken us through Argentina and Chile, and then up to Mexico, and we've been traveling all around Mexico. And I'm having a fantastic time, really, really loving it. And I think that, especially if you are someone who works online, if you work from home, work online, and your job mainly involves just sitting at a desk with a laptop, why not do that somewhere interesting where you can potentially pay less to get more for your cost of living, and where you can have great weather, interesting experiences, learn a foreign language, and travel around. It's so easy and feasible now to do long-term travel compared to any time in history, even compared to a few years ago. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this post, is just to talk about some of the things that you can use for long-term travel. These are the sort of experiences that we've had, the things that we found useful when traveling. And I would also be really interested to hear from other people who do long-term travel, if you have any other tips or suggestions. So let's go through some of the things that have worked for us. So first of all, let's talk about leaving your home and things that you can do before you leave to really make the best of your trip. The first suggestion that has worked really, really well for us is getting post rerouted and scanned in. We've done this with a friend of ours who's helping us out with this. So we've had our post rerouted to a friend who I've bought a scanner, and he's using the scanner to scan all of our posts and put it on a Dropbox account where we're then able to access it from wherever we are. And depending on what country you're in, there are lots of commercial services that you can use to do this as well. We're just getting a friend to do it, but however you do it, it's incredibly helpful to get your post rerouted somewhere where it can get scanned in. Then you can basically stay in touch with any mail that arrives for you and do whatever you need to do with your mail. Obviously, you need someone that you trust or a service that you trust to do that with, but has been incredibly helpful. The second thing that has worked really, really well is having a professional company manage subletting our flat. If you're going to rent out your flat or your house when you go abroad, or if you're subletting, then if things go wrong, if there's a leak or whatever, you don't want to have to try and deal with things by email. We've just found it really, really helpful to have a professional agent manage that. And indeed, there was a problem with our tenants, and they did have some plumbing issues that needed to get sorted out. That was all taken care of by the professional agents who are managing the flat. So that's something that works really, really well too. The next thing that has been just invaluable for long-term travel is using cloud services for everything. In particular, storage and backup. So I've already talked about how our post is collected and scanned in. So we're using cloud services to get access to the mail. So for example, in a Dropbox account, with a shared folder with our friend who's scanning the mail, we can then download to wherever we are and check the mail and see what letters have arrived for us. But you can also use cloud services for backup. So if you're traveling abroad and you're carrying a laptop around, especially if you're working, you may have an additional hard disk or something with you, but there is this great opportunity to just use the cloud to back up whatever it is that you're working on. And that way, if the worst happens and you lose your laptop or whatever, you'll have a backup in the cloud. And there are lots of different services for this. Again, you can look them up and see which one works particularly for you. And there's all sorts of things to consider, like encryption and security and so forth. But we've found that really, really helpful. It can be a bit slow. And one thing that we could have done better is to run the main backup before we left on our home internet, which is a lot faster than the internet has been in some of the places where we've been traveling. But that's something to consider. That's just a kind of an optimization thing. In general, cloud services for storage and backup. And the other thing that we use the cloud for is really just getting as a storage place for any paper that we collect while we're traveling around. So ATM receipts or whatever. I'm just using a little app on my iPhone to scan in all of those receipts. It takes a second, and then they're stored in the cloud. And that means that I don't have any paper, and I don't have to accumulate any paper, but I can still keep a record of anything that we need to. So that's very, very helpful as well. There are many, many different little apps that you can get for smartphones to scan documents, and especially if it's just a single page like a receipt or something, it's really, really straightforward and easy to do. So other things that you need for long-term travel: online banking is really essential for obvious reasons. You're going to be living from ATMs to get local cash in local currencies where you go. That is really the way that it has to work at the moment. Maybe in future you'll be able to use Bitcoin or something else interesting to travel around, but in general you need a Visa or other kind of card to access your cash from ATMs, and you need to make sure that you're all set up to be able to do whatever banking you need to do online. And there are various, depending on which country you're in and what services you've got, there are some types of account where you can do more or less things online. So you can maybe view your transactions and do simple transactions, but not bank transfers or whatever. So check it out and make sure that you're able to do everything that you need to. The next thing that is incredibly helpful is just having a password manager. So an application to manage all your passwords and make sure that you have strong and secure passwords. And there are many apps out there, depending on what computer you use, but it's really helpful, especially if, when you're traveling around, you're accessing things online a lot and you're also staying in different places, and just for security, it's really, really useful. The next thing that has transformed long-term travel, which is really, really essential, I think, to use in order to make the most of your travel, is to use the two websites, TripAdvisor and Airbnb. Now, in the future, maybe there'll be different websites that will be more important, and it may also be in different countries that there are other websites that are more useful. But for us, TripAdvisor and Airbnb have just changed everything as far as travel is concerned. You've probably already used TripAdvisor for hotels and stuff before, and that's been around for quite a while. Airbnb has just taken off massively, and it's a fantastic service, and that is much more useful if you want to stay slightly longer term and you want to rent out a whole apartment, or you can just rent out people's rooms, but it's a private rental sort of referral site, and there are reviews and photos and everything. So you can basically find accommodation wherever it is you want to go, and you can see other people's reviews of the places, and it's really, really helpful for long-term travel. TripAdvisor is still useful. We've still found it useful for staying in hotels if we're just passing through somewhere. But in general, if you're staying longer, then often getting your own place is a lot more comfortable. So for that, Airbnb is just incredibly helpful. The next thing that is a really essential thing to have for long-term travel, I think, is to have an e-reader. I've got a Kindle. Obviously, there are various other types of e-reader out there. But the key thing here is just that it makes carrying books around so easy and buying new books so easy. I don't imagine how you could possibly take enough books to keep yourself interested or have good stuff to read. If you wanted to do a trip like this for 6 or 7 months, you'd have to try and find things locally, and those kind of secondhand small bookstores you may be able to find. But obviously, if you have something like a Kindle, you can just read anything you want, and you can buy new ebooks on Amazon. So that is a really fantastic thing to take with you. And along the same lines, I talked about it briefly at the beginning, but if you are working online, obviously you need a laptop of some kind, preferably the lighter the better. But that's absolutely essential. Obviously, if you want to work abroad, then a laptop is really, really the way to go. I thought about just trying to work off an iPad, but I think writing off an iPad for long term, for 6 months, just wouldn't be comfortable. So yeah, a laptop, really a vital thing to take with you. Smartphones can be useful, particularly if you want to take pictures, because the cameras are so good these days. I've taken a smartphone, my iPhone, with me over this trip. Haven't really used the phone at all, mainly just using it for taking pictures and for getting online. But Wi-Fi is so easily available everywhere now that you don't need to have mobile data, and you don't need to use your phone either. You can just get online and use Skype. If you want to, you can get a local phone SIM in different countries. We haven't even really found it necessary to do that. But the smartphone's also useful for things like the scanner app to scan all the paper in and stuff like that. Lastly, just a couple of bits of equipment that have come in really handy. I do have an external drive, and you can obviously get an external drive, which again I think is useful to encrypt, but as well as the online backup. They're so small these days that having a little external drive can be helpful. Another thing that's really helpful is headphones, especially if you're traveling a lot, and so that's a useful thing to take. And lastly, a pretty obvious one, but you need international plugs for all your devices. You can get combination plugs that you can use for various things. It just generally, I found it's easier if you have a specific international plug for each one of your devices, so that you don't have to keep swapping in and out. So, if you have a phone and you have a laptop and you have a Kindle, then you're going to need a plug for each of those. So that's it. Those are some of the things that we've found really, really helpful so far in terms of just what you need for long-term travel. It's really not difficult these days, especially with services like Airbnb and with being able to access your data through cloud services and various other things. So yeah, if you work online, if you work from home, it's really something to consider. Why not rent out your place sublet your apartment for a while, and rather than work from your own home the whole time, go and find an apartment somewhere in the sunshine that you can experience a different town, a different culture, a different place at the same time. So I hope that is helpful. I'd love to hear any suggestions that you have, and thanks so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to The Voluntary Life. If you have feedback about the show, please email jake@thevoluntarylife.com. If you enjoyed this program, please share the podcast with your friends or click the donate button on thevoluntarylife.com.
This is a message from Government of Japan. Radioactivity is not included in this video.
Dear Mr. President, welcome to this introduction video about Japan. This is a very amazing, the most amazing video in the world. Japan is a great one ethnic, one language, and one speech country. Our country is growing, as you like. It's terrific. UK decided to escape from EU last year, so we joined EU because we have the royal family too. Next to North Korea is dangerous. Of course, we don't say hello to refugees. You must be surprised, but Japan is the best country in the world. Believe me, the royal family of Japan has a great history. And actually, it is the truth, the best history in the world. Our history has begun with the Big Bang, beginning of the universe. Big Bang happened in Japan. This is not fake news. It's okay. According to alternative fact, radioactivity accident was solved by one guy, one terrific guy. It's the truth.
The situation is under control.
He can also control our nation's mind. We also have TPP problems.
The TPP. The TPP. PPAP.
We can use perfect broken English. Everybody can understand it.
Pineapple apple pen.
You said you will make cars in American game. Okay. We have huge customers in the Middle East. Our car is cheap and strong, easy to repair. It is true. And we use a comfortable train. That's enough. Don't you like Mexican? However, we do not like all foreigners.
I will call police.
We never say welcome to refugees. The important thing for us is cleanliness, not human rights.
Crazy! I do nothing!
We don't need freedom and personality. There is only one fashion. Chasing Ellie's eternal fashion. Great. You like the world. We don't have any worlds. Running like refugees. They're real soldiers called otaku. They save us from everything. It's so nice. They have a great role. So called AT-fear. Even if murderers or rapists came, according to the liberal media, they also have girlfriends.
Hi, I'm home.
High quality Japan-made love dolls. It is the best pussy in the world. It is greater than Dutch wife. Some foreigners dream this kinky culture and come to Japan. It's great.
China. You take China.
However, Chinese breaking through AT-fear and come to shopping in Japan. All products they get is made in China. Anyway, we are the same face as Chinese people, but mentally is more elegant and gentlemanly. Unfortunately, we don't have any weird. Sad. We just drink alcohol, a lot of alcohol. We are better than these Germans. Of course, you can pee on the street. It is not a Japanese tradition. It was introduced from Russia, but we love it. America had the KKK, but we have YKK. It is the mystery of the Orient. The Japanese festival is very mysterious, especially a festival about sexual faith. The pushes pray for a white shower, not a golden shower. Anyway, Japan is great. We will be protected by God like you. You say make America great again. We say yes, 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 yes. And we will make Dick great again and again. We totally understand it's going to be America first, but we can just say Japan second.
Hi, I'm Tamsang Janki from Nelson Mandela's funeral.
Your democracy.
Cigarette, share. Hand me the scissors.
Believe me, I'm a real professional sign language interpreter.
I speak sign language, not.
I am really sorry for what happened.
Me, famous, celebrity, I'm on a horse.
Now, I want to make it up to the whole world.
Now, I do campaign for money.
Introducing Live Lanes.
That was brilliant. Let's do it again.
Introducing Live Lanes, an app that allows you to broadcast live to your friends and your followers. Remember, the most interesting things happens live. Live Lanes.
Live live. Want to hear more? Download Live Lens from your app store.